Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. You're not broke because of the economy. You're not stuck because of your background. And you're not behind because of your past. You're exactly where your daily routine has been taking you. Every morning, whether you realize it or not, you're casting a vote for the future you want or the future you fear. The wealthy don't wake up lucky. They wake up intentional. They don't wait for motivation. They move with discipline. While most people start their day consuming, complaining, and scrolling, winners start their day praying, planning, learning, and executing. And here's the truth. What you do consistently matters more than what you do occasionally. If you want a different life, you need a different routine, because the same habits will always produce the same results. Today, you'll discover the simple daily routine that separates the wealthy from the broke and how to step into it starting now. Let me slow this down for a moment, because this is where everything really begins. Your routine reveals your identity, not your intentions, not your goals, not what you say you believe. Your routine, every single day, your habits are quietly testifying about who you think you are. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your systems. And the reason most people stay stuck is because they keep trying to change their results without changing their identity. See, behavior doesn't create identity. Identity creates behavior. That's why willpower never lasts. You can get motivated for a weekend. You can feel inspired after a video. You can promise yourself that Monday is going to be different. But if you still see yourself as broke, overwhelmed, behind, or unqualified, your routine will always drift back to match that picture. You will unconsciously sabotage progress because your habits are trying to protect the version of you that feels familiar. Most people wake up every morning and ask the wrong question. They ask, what do I feel like doing today? Successful people ask, who am I becoming? And what does that person do next? That's a completely different operating system. One is emotion-driven, the other is identity-driven. One reacts to life, the other designs life. Let me say it plainly. You already have the routine of the person you believe you are. If you believe you're average, your routine will be casual. If you believe you're a survivor, your routine will be reactive. If you believe you're a victim, your routine will be filled with distractions, excuses, and delays. But when you start seeing yourself as a creator, a leader, a steward, and a builder, your routine begins to shift automatically. You don't have to force discipline when identity is clear. Discipline becomes natural. That's why wealthy people don't struggle to do wealthy things. They think wealthy first. They plan wealthy. They prepare wealthy. They invest wealthy. They don't wait until money shows up to act like responsible stewards. They become responsible stewards first, and money follows structure. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Some of you are praying for abundance while practicing scarcity every day. You're asking God to bless your finances, but your routine says comfort matters more than growth. You're asking for opportunity, but your routine says entertainment matters more than education. You're asking for breakthrough, but your routine says sleep matters more than discipline. And heaven is saying, I already gave you the seed. Why aren't you planting it? Your routine is the soil. Identity is the seed. Results are the harvest. Look at how you start your mornings. That's not random. Look at how often you read, learn, and develop yourself. That's not accidental. Look at how quickly you reach for your phone instead of your purpose. That's identity talking. Every small decision is reinforcing a story about who you are. And here's the good news. Identity is not fixed. You can decide today to become someone new. You don't need permission. You don't need more resources. You don't need perfect conditions. You need a new self-image. The moment you decide, I am disciplined, your actions begin to align. The moment you decide, I am a builder, you start building. The moment you decide, I am a wealth creator, you start organizing your time, your thoughts, and your energy around creation instead of consumption. Stop saying, I'm trying. Trying is language of uncertainty. Start saying, this is who I am now. I am consistent. I am focused. I am intentional. I am growing every day. Speak it until you see it. Act it until it becomes automatic. Most people wait for confidence before they change their habits. Winners change their habits and confidence shows up later. You don't become disciplined because you feel ready. You become disciplined because you decide. And every day you keep that promise to yourself. Your identity gets stronger. Let me challenge you. Write down the type of person who would have the life you want, not the income, not the house, not the car, the person. What time do they wake up? What do they feed their mind? How do they manage their time? How do they handle distractions? Then start living like that person today, even before the results arrive. Because your routine isn't just something you do, it's a declaration of who you believe you are. And when you change who you believe you are, everything else begins to follow. Let me take this a step deeper, because this is where a lot of people get confused. Discipline is the bridge between prayer and prosperity. And that statement alone makes some folks uncomfortable, because they've been taught that if you just pray hard enough, everything will fall into place. Prayer is powerful. Faith is essential. But faith without structure produces frustration. You can believe God for increase all you want, but if your daily life has no order, no systems, and no consistency, your prayers will stay in the realm of hope instead of becoming results. See, prayer aligns you with heaven, but discipline aligns heaven with your habits. A lot of people want miracles, but they don't want management. They want blessings, but they avoid boundaries. They want overflow, but they resist order. Yet all throughout Scripture, God works through principles: seed time and harvest, cause and effect, reaping what you sow. None of that happens without discipline. You don't harvest what you pray for. You harvest what you plant. And discipline is what makes sure the seed gets in the ground every single day. Let me say it another way. Prayer invites God into your plans. Discipline proves you're serious about the partnership. Some people pray for financial freedom while spending every dollar emotionally. Some pray for clarity while living in chaos. Some pray for opportunities while refusing to prepare. Then they wonder why nothing changes. It's because discipline is missing. God gives vision, but you build the structure. God provides ideas, but you execute them. God opens doors, but you still have to walk through them. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect. It's you deciding that your future matters more than your feelings. It's choosing growth over comfort. It's saying no to what feels good now so you can say yes to what feels great later. Most people think discipline is about forcing yourself to do hard things. That's not it. Discipline is about making important things non-negotiable. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. It's waking up when you said you would. It's reading when you don't feel like it. It's investing in your mind before you spend on entertainment. It's keeping your word to yourself even when nobody's watching. And here's what I've learned. Discipline creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates results. Results reinforce identity. That's the cycle, but it always starts with discipline. You can pray for wisdom, but if you don't study, wisdom has nowhere to land. You can pray for increase, but if you don't manage what you already have, increase becomes a burden instead of a blessing. You can pray for purpose, but if your days are filled with distractions, purpose keeps getting postponed. Let me be very clear. God is not withholding prosperity from you. He's waiting for you to become a person who can sustain it. That's why some people get a breakthrough and lose it. They got the blessing, but they didn't build the discipline to maintain it. Money came, but habits didn't change. Opportunities showed up, but character didn't grow. And without discipline, every blessing leaks. You don't need more motivation. You need better systems. You don't need another emotional moment. You need a daily method. Decide what time you wake up. Decide when you pray. Decide when you learn. Decide when you work. Decide when you rest. Structure your life so success becomes inevitable instead of accidental. Stop leaving your future to chance. Start running your life on purpose. And don't underestimate small acts of obedience. 10 minutes of reading a day compounds. 30 minutes of focused work compounds. One disciplined decision after another begins to stack. You don't become wealthy overnight. You become wealthy through alignment over time. Discipline also protects your faith. When you have structure, you don't drift as easily. When you have routines, you don't fall off every time life gets uncomfortable. Discipline gives your faith a backbone. It turns belief into behavior. Some of you are waiting on God, and God is waiting on your calendar. If you truly believe what you pray, then organize your life like it's already on the way. Show heaven you're ready. Create space for growth. Build habits that honor your prayers. Because discipline is how you prove that your faith is real. And when prayer meets disciplined action, prosperity stops being a dream and starts becoming your daily reality. Let me show you another dividing line most people never notice. Most people react to life. The wealthy design it. That single difference explains more success and failure than talent, education, or background ever could. Reactive people wake up and let the day happen to them. Design people wake up and tell the day what it's going to become. Reaction is automatic. Design is intentional. When you live in reaction, your phone controls your focus. Your emotions control your decisions. Your circumstances control your schedule. You respond to whatever is loudest, whoever is closest, and whatever feels most urgent. That's why so many people feel busy, but not productive. They're moving all day, but they're not building anything. They're answering messages, scrolling feeds, putting out fires, and chasing deadlines, yet somehow the important things keep getting postponed. That's not because they're lazy, it's because they never learn to design. Design starts with deciding in advance. You decide when you wake up, you decide what you study, you decide what you work on first, you decide how much time gets invested into growth versus entertainment. You decide where your money goes before it leaves your hands. Reactive people decide in the moment. Designers decide ahead of time. And that difference changes everything. Let me be real with you. If you don't control your schedule, somebody else will. If you don't plan your finances, impulse will. If you don't set priorities, distractions will. Life doesn't drift toward success. It drifts toward comfort. That's why design requires effort. Comfort is default. Growth is deliberate. Most people spend their mornings consuming and their evenings exhausted. Designers flip that. They invest first, then consume later. They protect their best energy for their highest priorities. They don't give their prime hours to social media and leftovers to their purpose. They reverse the order. That's why wealthy people look calm. It's not because they have fewer problems. It's because they built systems. They don't rely on memory. They rely on structure. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on routines. They don't hope things work out. They organize their lives so progress becomes predictable. Let me tell you something important. Being busy is not the same as being productive. You can be active and still be broke. You can be tired and still be stuck. Movement doesn't equal momentum. Only intentional action does. Reactive people live in urgency. Designers live in priority. Urgency screams. Priority whispers. And most people keep responding to whatever is screaming the loudest. Emails, notifications, other people's problems, random opportunities. Meanwhile, their own goals sit quietly in the corner waiting for attention that never comes. Design means you decide what matters before the noise starts. It means you block time to think. You schedule learning. You protect focused work. You plan your week instead of hoping it turns out okay. You tell distractions no so your destiny can hear yes. And here's what most people miss. Designing your life doesn't require perfection. It requires intention. You don't have to get everything right. You just have to stop letting everything be random. Some of you are praying for clarity while living in chaos. You're asking for direction while refusing to slow down long enough to think. Design requires margin. It requires space. It requires you to step back and ask, is the way I'm living today creating the future I want tomorrow? Because if you keep doing what you've been doing, you'll keep getting what you've been getting. Wealthy people don't wait until they feel in control to start designing. They design so they can get in control. They don't wait for time, they make time. They don't wait for opportunities, they prepare for them. They don't let their environment shape them, they shape their environment. Look at your day. Is it built by default or by design? Look at your finances. Are they managed intentionally or emotionally? Look at your goals. Are they written down or just floating in your head? Reaction keeps you surviving. Design moves you toward thriving. And this connects back to identity and discipline. When you see yourself as a creator, you design. When you practice discipline, you follow the design. When you repeat that process daily, momentum starts to build. Small plans turn into big progress. Simple routines turn into powerful results. Stop letting life happen to you. Sit down, write it out, decide your priorities, build your schedule around them, protect your mornings, guard your focus, invest in your growth, because nobody accidentally becomes wealthy. Nobody stumbles into purpose. Nobody drifts into abundance. You either design your future or you live inside the one your habits are creating right now. Let's talk about the first hour of your day, because this is where most people lose before they ever start. Your morning is either building wealth or destroying it. And I don't mean just financially. I mean mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. How you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. You don't ease into success. You enter it intentionally. Most people wake up already behind. Alarm goes off. They hit snooze. Phone comes on. Notifications start pouring in. Before they've said a prayer, before they've taken a breath, before they've spoken a word of gratitude, they're already consuming someone else's agenda. Emails, messages, headlines, social feeds. And without realizing it, they've handed over control of their mind to the world. That's not a neutral act. That's programming. Winners protect their mornings because they understand something. Whoever gets your first hour gets your focus. Your mind is most powerful when you first wake up. Your creativity is fresh. Your willpower is strongest. Your spirit is most sensitive. That first hour is prime real estate. And most people give it away for free. They scroll instead of think. They react instead of reflect. They consume instead of create. Then they wonder why their days feel scattered and their progress feels slow. Let me tell you this clearly. You don't become successful by accident during the day if you started the morning in confusion. The wealthy don't start their day chasing money. They start their day investing in themselves. They pray, they think, they plan, they read, they move their bodies, they write goals, they review priorities, they feed their spirit before they feed their inbox, because they understand that income follows growth. If you want to earn more, you have to become more. Most people wait until they have time to work on themselves. Successful people make time. Your first hour should not be random. It should be ritual, not rigid, but intentional. You decide in advance what that hour looks like, even if it's just 20 or 30 minutes. Even if you start small, what matters is consistency. A few minutes of focused growth every morning compounds into massive transformation over time. Think about it. If you invested 30 minutes a day into learning, that's over 180 hours a year. That's a college education worth of knowledge. If you invested 15 minutes a day into prayer and reflection, that's a powerful spiritual foundation. If you moved your body for 20 minutes, that's health equity. These small daily deposits turn into big returns. But instead, most people deposit distraction. They say they don't have time, but they scroll for an hour. They say they're tired, but they stay up late consuming entertainment. They say they want change, but they start every morning the same way. And you can't keep repeating the same routine and expect a different future. Let me say something that might challenge you. If you don't control your morning, you won't control your money, because your morning trains your mind, and your mind drives your decisions, and your decisions shape your results. Your first hour teaches you what matters. If you give it to your phone, you're telling yourself other people's lives are more important than your own. If you give it to worry, you're telling yourself fear gets to lead. But if you give it to growth, you're telling yourself that your future deserves your best energy. That's why I tell people, win your morning and you win your day. Win your days and you win your life. You don't need a perfect routine. You need a practiced one. Start where you are. Wake up a little earlier. Turn the phone off. Sit quietly. Write something down. Read something that stretches you. Speak gratitude. Visualize your goals. Take one small action toward your purpose. Do that every day and watch how your confidence grows. Watch how your clarity increases. Watch how opportunities start to recognize you, because preparation attracts provision. And remember, this isn't about being extreme. It's about being intentional. You're not trying to become someone else. You're becoming the highest version of yourself one morning at a time. Your future isn't built in dramatic moments. It's built in quiet mornings when nobody's watching. So decide today. Stop giving your first hour to distraction and start investing it in direction, because how you start is how you finish. Let me close this by bringing it all together, because this is where everything connects. Consistency compounds faster than talent. Most people overestimate what talent can do and underestimate what alignment over time can produce. They think successful people are just gifted, lucky, or unusually smart. But what you're really seeing is the result of small, disciplined actions repeated daily for years. That's the secret most people ignore. Talent gets attention, consistency gets results. You can be brilliant and broke. You can be creative and confused. You can be gifted and going nowhere. Ability without alignment doesn't create wealth. Effort without consistency doesn't create momentum. What changes lives is doing the right things in the right order long enough for compound growth to take effect. See, compounding doesn't just work with money. It works with habits. It works with mindset. It works with discipline. Every time you read instead of scroll, that compounds. Every time you wake up on time, that compounds. Every time you invest in yourself instead of entertaining yourself, that compounds. You don't feel it at first. That's why most people quit. They expect immediate results from eternal principles. But consistency is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It just keeps stacking. Most people are waiting for a breakthrough, but breakthroughs are usually the visible result of invisible repetition. You don't suddenly become confident. You show up daily until confidence catches up. You don't suddenly become wealthy. You make aligned decisions long enough for wealth to recognize you. Let me say it like this. Motivation is rented. Consistency is owned. Motivation comes and goes. Feelings fluctuate. Life happens. But consistency doesn't depend on how you feel. It depends on who you decided to be. That's why identity matters. That's why discipline matters. That's why design matters. All of it feeds into consistency. And here's something powerful. Consistency simplifies your life. When your actions become automatic, you don't have to debate with yourself every day. You already know what you do. You wake up, you pray, you learn, you plan, you execute. You don't waste energy negotiating with distractions. You've already decided. That's freedom. Most people live in emotional cycles. They start strong, slow down, fall off, feel guilty, start again, and repeat. That cycle keeps them stuck. Consistency breaks that pattern. It replaces chaos with rhythm. It replaces confusion with clarity. You don't need to do everything. You need to do a few important things every day. And don't despise small beginnings. The first workout might feel insignificant. The first page you read might feel boring. The first business idea might feel shaky. But small steps done daily create massive shifts over time. A plane leaving Los Angeles just 1 degree off ends up in a completely different city. Tiny adjustments repeated change destinations. That's why you can't measure consistency by how you feel today. You measure it by who you become over time. Let me challenge you. Stop looking for shortcuts. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Your only assignment is to show up today and do what aligns with the future you want. Because consistency doesn't care about your past. It only responds to your present. Some of you have been quitting too early. You tried for a week, you tried for a month, but compounding needs time. Seeds don't grow overnight. Muscles don't build in a day. Character doesn't form in a moment. You stay with it. You stay aligned. You stay faithful to the process. And here's what happens when consistency takes root. Your confidence grows, your clarity sharpens, your discipline strengthens. Opportunities start finding you. People begin to notice. Momentum momentum builds, not because you got lucky, but because you became reliable to your routine, reliable to your growth, reliable to your calling. That's when life starts responding differently. So hear me clearly. You don't need more talent. You don't need more connections. You don't need another motivational moment. You need alignment repeated daily. Do the small things. Do them consistently. Trust the compound effect. Because when you stay faithful to the process will take you places motivation never could.